Playing the innocent bystander is not an easy thing to do in any tabletop games, though specifically for games like D&D, it gets even more difficult. Why is that? Well, because mechanically, that archetype just isn't supported. Many tabletop games really rely around combat. Combat is an important part of many of them because, well, frankly, it's fun, and a lot of tabletop games, well, they got their start in wargaming, so it makes a lot of sense. But when you're trying to play an innocent bystander, it becomes difficult because if so much of the game revolves around combat, that's what it's based around, and you have somebody who's not going to be engaging in combat, one, you're going to be harming your team in some capacity because you're just not assisting them, and that is one more person at the table who's not helping. But two, it's also just going to make the game somewhat boring. If a large portion of the game is supposed to be based around the wargaming aspect, the combat aspect, getting in there, fighting, doing all the cool things, and if you're not participating in that, it gets a little boring. But there are ways to do it. Number one, and this is pretty much crucial for any archetype you play, talk with your game master. Discuss with them the fact that you want to play this type of character and make sure that they understand that. If they're going to be designing combat encounters around a party of 4 and one of those 4 is not participating, this has suddenly gone from being a relatively okay combat to a very difficult and potentially deadly one, no matter what system you're playing, pretty much. So you have to keep that crucially in mind, that the DM has to be on board with your innocent bystanding. They have to understand that you're not going to be participating a ton in this, that you're going to be struggling with this, that you're not going to be taking your turn to do a lot of damage. But two, you need to find something to do during combat. I'm sorry, but it's going to be very boring and you're going to get disinterested 90% of the time. Even if you're okay just watching everybody have fun and enjoying yourself and doing your thing, it's still going to be exceedingly difficult because, well, again, like I keep stating, these games are based around combat. I personally run my games that are very roleplay heavy, but even so, when combat happens, and it happens for a decent amount of time. And if you're not participating, then you're just gonna be twiddling your thumbs or scrolling through Twitter or Reddit or, basically any of that stuff. The point is it's going to be exceedingly difficult. So what do? Well, look at the system you're playing. If you're playing a game like Pathfinder or D&D, there are many actions you could take that don't require you to deal any damage. Never forget, the help action is an incredibly important one and can be very useful. Now, is it better than just taking your own turn? No, but if the DM understands you're not going to be taking your turn to deal damage, well then it does help. You can give the fighter advantage or help somebody else out who's caught in a trap. And actually wait, that's one of the most important parts. As an innocent bystander in any movie or show that we watch, what is it that we typically see? Well, I'm going to use an example here of Steven from Steven Universe. Now, is this the second video in a row where I've used a Steven Universe character? Yes. Do I just miss that show? Yes. Should I talk about that show at some point? Also, yes. But the point is Steven in the first season, the first several episodes, is a great example of an innocent bystander. He has the power of his mother's gem, but he does not know how to use it, and it does not manifest when needed. This leads to him being very oftentimes not very helpful in combat, but he still finds ways to help. Whether it is slinging a refrigerator at a giant space centipede that spits acid everywhere, or simply just helping with his cheeseburger backpack, he is doing everything he can to assist. I didn't realize how insane this entire thing was going to sound for somebody who hasn't watched Steven Universe. Basically, he's just this kid who's trying to help. He has magical powers, but they're not manifesting, and he's doing what he can to assist otherwise. And as an innocent bystander, that's pretty much exactly what you need to do. Now, I don't think that it is unrealistic or unhelpful to give yourself something that will allow you to play into combat later, like innate magical powers that just haven't come up yet. When you're playing these types of games, you have to understand you are a party going into combat to save the world. So just never allowing yourself to ever participate in combat really is doing yourself a disservice. If you do find a game that fits this, things like Monster of the Week, it will be pretty decent. Monster of the Week does not necessarily not allow you to participate in combat, but it has many options that don't require you to deal damage, and so you can play into that. But when playing more wargaming types of tabletop games, you really have to keep in mind that you do need to properly build up for this and probably build some combat capability into your character, even if it only shows up later. We see throughout the course of Steven Universe that Steven begins to grow more and more powerful and begins to get more and more comfortable with his powers. And eventually they come out in the greatest moments sporadically. No, seriously, there's a lot of times where his shield comes in clutch and saves the day, but it only happens at random points. And honestly, I think that is a great way of trying to play this type of character. Give them an innate magical power. Maybe they're a sorcerer and they can't use their spells yet. But in the moments where it's needed, with the moments where it's dire, the moments where your party needs an extra help or boost, let that power out. Let it flow out from you, even if it's only for that one moment. This does two things. One, it allows you to actually feel like you could participate in combat should you need to. And two, it gives the rest of the party a reason to keep you around other than just being an innocent bystander. Everybody loves the innocent kid, but let's be honest, if you're constantly putting them in danger, why are you bringing this kid along? You love them, but you're gonna have to let them go. We see this happen pretty frequently at a lot of live plays. There's an NPC who everybody falls in love with, but oh, they only have 9 hit points. And now we're going up against this giant ogre here, which deals an average of 24, and you see the problem. You have to understand that you can't just be an innocent bystander all the time. It's a fun archetype, it's cute, but you have to provide some value for you to stick with the party, unless your group just doesn't care about that. But I would talk with the group and try and figure that out, because it is a pretty important portion of it. Additionally, Steven does tend to add some actual value outside of his magical abilities. He is the heart, the core of the crystal gems. He's the one who is there to keep them enraptured in the human life. He keeps them interested in their jobs. And that is important for an innocent bystander. You have to provide emotional value as well. Why are you there? Are you inspiring the party, encouraging them? Are you the one who gives them hope? Are you the one who simply is innocent enough to remind them that not everybody in this world has been corrupted yet? Finding that role is honestly more crucial than any of the combat stuff, because it really punches in the storytelling value of your character. And that is important to have, and really makes everybody feel a lot more comfortable with the whole situation. It is very easy to want to kick an innocent bystander character out if you feel that the only reason they're there is to be in danger. However, if they truly are giving the heart of the party, inspiring everything, that's another thing. That really brings everybody together and makes it a much more cohesive, fun, and fascinating story. We see Steven help everybody around him grow and improve, not only from his supportive abilities, but also just from generally being who he is, loving everybody else. And depending on how long the story goes, eventually your character may begin to crack themselves, at which point the others who you've inspired for so long can now come and help you out. It's a very heartwarming and incredible tale, and honestly, I think it is super, super fun should you play it properly. But you have to understand the mechanics of the TTRPG that you're playing first and foremost. Do they support this type of character? If not, find out what you're going to do about it. It is perfectly okay to look at a tabletop game, look at the mechanics, and realize they are just not there for the type of character you're trying to play. And so you need to either talk with your GM about it, or just be honest and find something else to play. Innocent bystanders are fun, but they have to have the mechanics supporting them in one way or another, or else it all falls flat. But if you can figure all that out, I think it makes one of the most fun things you could possibly play, and a really awesome time for your table. If you want to hear more character archetype videos, I have a playlist right here that you can go to and watch the entire catalog. I am coming towards the end of this month, so I'm going to stop making so many of these videos, but they are still going to keep coming because I absolutely love talking about how to play character archetype videos, and there will be a little bit more variance as well. So I hope you all enjoy.
Are the other ones with you?